What is up, my VSAV heads? I'm here with an introductory guide to Lilith. If you like an honest character with explosive burst damage, and this might just be the character for you. Let's jump right in by going over to it, shall we? Alright, so first off, we need to talk about Luminous Illusion. This is easily her best tool. Getting this down should be your big priority as it's the crush of the character. It's a command super so you can cancel any button right into it. Theoretically, this means nearly any hit is confirmable into LI, but in practice you're probably not going to be hitting a lot of standing medium kicks into Illusion. Dashing medium kick, however, is a whole different story. Dashing normals become even more advantageous for Lilith, making her dashing pressure a core part of her game plan. Not only does her dashing pressure have great corner carry, it is also very good at setting up tick throws. Because you lack a strong mix-up game, being able to land tick throws is vital for your pressure. Dashing medium punch is your best normal due to its great advantage and ability to curb attempts to up back out of your pressure. Unfortunately, it comes with a caveat that if missed space, you'll get near medium punch, one of the worst normals in the game. In light of this, dashing medium kick is also a strong option as it doesn't have this flaw and it also hits opponents that would otherwise go under your punches. While its frame advantage isn't as good, you can still go for a tighter tick throw, and at higher level play, it's a great ally confirm. Dashing light kick is great for leading into your tick throws, particularly for the far version, which is +5 on block. Despite looking identical, the near version is only +3 on block, which is still enough to give you a throw. The dashing light punches are primarily used to snuff out attempts to jump out of your pressure. Dashing near heavy punch is a great confirmant to LI. It's +3 on block, so if the opponent blocks it, you can still go for a tick throw, and if it hits, you have a bit more time to input the demon than with medium kick. It also has a pretty tall hitbox, so it's good at anti-airing some characters' neutral jumps. Far dashing heavy punch isn't as good, but it isn't terrible. The move gives you plenty of time to input illusion, and it's only -1 on block, making it sort of safe. There's also some sneaky tech you can do with the opponent if they jump over it and you input an LI. Lilith auto-tracks whenever she inputs an LI, so if the opponent jumps over your dashing heavy punch, Lilith will auto-correct and it will serve as a cross-up. This hurts a lot more than it should, even at high level play. Don't use dashing heavy kick, they both suck. The near version is disadvantageous on both hit and block, so you have to cancel into LI no matter what, making it more often than not either a waste of meter or a free knockdown for the opponent. The far version is even worse. While it can sometimes be used to anti-air, it is not an overhead despite how it looks. This makes it less than worthless. Her crushing heavy kick isn't much better by itself, but within the broader range of her kit, it has pretty decent utility. The range is pretty pathetic for a sweep, and you're -20 if it gets blocked, which is almost certainly will with its 14 frame startup. Thankfully, it has 2 saving graces. Well, it's more like 1.5. Unlike standing heavy kick, you can chain into this move, letting Lilith get knockdowns semi-reliably. That's the first good thing. The other is that because this move is so bad, it makes her a pretty good frame trap. Because everyone is going to want to punish this move on block, canceling into LI nets you a lot of dirty illusions. It also conditions the opponent into being too afraid to punish it, which makes it deceptively safe. Her other crunchy buttons are a lot better. Most of them are not really worth going into depth to this section as you won't be using them in isolation. Just know to poke with light kick and occasionally medium kick at further ranges as her punches don't hit low. Also, light kick and light punch are good to mix into her dashing pressure as they have great frame advantage, link capability, and are cancelable into her fireball. Light kick in particular opens up a lot of options. In the corner, it links into itself for a full chain into a potential ally, or it can be cancelled into a soul flash if blocked, or you can go for a tick throw out of it, or you can just follow through with a normal chain. This is her best crouching button, so use it liberally. Her jumping moves might not be the greatest, for the most part, but they're by no means bad. Her air throw for one is godly. That little "for the most part" was in reference to this. Lilith has arguably the best air throw in the game. This has one of the best throw ranges in the game, so you'll be getting it a ton. It also does full damage if it gets tagged, which even if it does get tagged, Lilith recovers very quickly so you have plenty of time for Elki. She also throws backwards from the direction you're pressing, so this OSs with chicken guard, making it pretty safe. Jumping light punch is the go-to chain starter, and it has the added benefit of inherently leading into LI. Jumping light kick is surprisingly good at being able to bait out guard cancels. Jumping medium punch isn't bad, but it gets overshadowed by medium kick and heavy punch. They kinda do its job better than it does. Medium kick is fantastic at getting cross-ups and has good range and startup. Jumping heavy punch is phenomenal. This button does good damage, has decent startup, and has good range in and of itself, but the options it gives you are what makes it outstanding. In the air, this is a very good OS with chicken guard since you'll be getting a ton of air throws anyways, and if you don't get those, you're throwing out a really good button. But on a grounded hit, this thing is a strong LI confirm, and that's without even going into the fact that this leads into grounded chains, which can even lead into LI in the corner or on a shorter string anywhere. Jumping heavy kick is slow, but it has great range and a good hitbox. This is a useful tool for controlling space and in air-to-airs, so get comfortable with this long startup. On the side of her specials, she has Soul Flash, or Fireball, and one of the best moves in the game, Shiny Blade, and above average DP, and a Merry Turn, a pretty bad Tatsu. Oddly enough, they forgot to give her a command grab. Soul Flash is another aspect that makes the character. It's as good for offense as it is defense. You can add this to your dashing pressure to maintain pressure, set up unblockables in the corner, and get your turn back. It's something you should be using a lot when you're attacking, and it's also something you should be using all the time in neutral. Because this move lasts a really long time, it serves as a great wall. If the opponent touches this thing while they're in the air, you get a knockdown and Oki. Tiger kneeing in this move is Lilith's best anti-air. It does a phenomenal job at not letting your opponent get in. The ES version lasts even longer and does 3 hits instead of 1. This makes it very good for letting you get a confirm into LI. Unfortunately, this move isn't without its flaws. The biggest hurdle this move runs into is that a lot of characters can just low profile it. Felicia can roll under it, QB straight up crouches under it, and Fish can also dash under it. Additionally, there's a bunch of sweeps that just low profile under this move as well, so you have to be very careful about using the slowest and best version of this move in your pressure against quite a few characters. Mary Charm is an entirely unremarkable move that is seldom used. It's very punishable and doesn't have many practical applications. Canceling a crouching medium kick into it to score a knockdown is probably its best use, but even that isn't particularly good. Because this move is so rarely used, you can sometimes use it on wake up to escape out of the corner, but that's very gimmicky. Don't bother spending meter on this to get the ES version since it's just not good. Don't use Mystic Arrow. Shiny Blade is pretty mediocre for a DP, having 7 frames of startup and only 8 frames of invincibility. Because of this, it tends to trade or outright lose a lot. Its hitbox is also pretty bad, hitting high enough to whiff often, and not hitting nearly as far as the sprite would suggest. It's also air blockable and highly punishable on whiff and on block. Still, it's far from being terrible and it's a pretty good tool to use to stop your opponent's pressure. It's not as bullshit as Dimitri's Demon Cradle, but it's also not bad like Fish's pitiful DP. It's just an honest, fair DP. The ES version would be pretty good if it actually worked, but it loves to drop the opponent halfway through and leave you a sitting duck. If you whiff the meter version or it gets blocked, you're eating a big punish. Don't spend meter on this very often. Other than LI, Lilith's EX moves are pretty bad. Splendor Love doesn't have any invincibility. Despite this, it might actually be good if it worked correctly since the damage is pretty good. Instead, the move loves to drop opponents after 2 or 3 hits. This is almost guaranteed to happen if you use this to punish a bad jump in, which is, unfortunately, when you would want to use this the most. Yeah, Lilith has 2 anti-airs that can't actually anti-air very well. You get some cheap kills if you mediate this when the opponent has very little health, as the chip damage is decent, particularly against taller characters, but really this should be used sparingly. Gloomy Puppet Show is a really cool move that is simply never worth using. There's no way to confirm into this outside of ES command grab, which good luck landing that. And hitting this raw is extremely difficult as it's completely blockable and the range is pitiful. You're pretty punishable if you whiff, which you probably will, so be careful throwing this out. If you somehow manage to hit this thing, then you still have to do a very difficult rhythm game that will dictate how much damage this does. Spoiler alert, the damage is never even worth it, as even if you're insanely cracked at DDR, the damage is bad for 2 bars of meter, which this costs by the way. You're sacrificing 2 potential LI chains for the chance to get mediocre damage. As for her other bad tools, you do not have a command grab, you don't have reliable air and buckable anti-air, and you don't have a good way to escape the corner. Noteworthy bugs. Felicia's Dark Force breaks your Ally. It makes the damage atrocious and unusable. You must use a Soul Flash in order to restore them. Lilith without illusion is really bad. There's a few other things that also break Ally, but none of them happen as often as Felicia's Dark Force. Lilith's own Dark Force also weakens your Ally. While it doesn't completely destroy them like Felicia's does, the damage decrease can be important. The way to fix them is the same as above, but this is another reason to use her Dark Forces sparingly. They're not very good regardless. Air AE Soul Flash. If you use this move too close to the ground during the jump, the fireball won't come out properly, and you're not getting that meter back. Properly Tiger need them instead to avoid this entirely. Alright, I'm gonna keep the combo section short and sweet as Lilith isn't a combo heavy character and the root of her combo theory is simply confirming into LI. 2 light kick into 2 medium punch into 2 medium kick into 2 heavy punch is her main bread and butter chain. This is also her core LI confirm in the corner. 2 light kick into 2 heavy punch into LI is a short and easier LI confirm that works mid screen. I recommend using this route early on as it does wonders at teaching you the timing from 2 heavy punch into LI, as well as getting you intimate with the LI input in general. You're going to want to get really fast at doing the demon input. Since technically any normal can cancel into LI if you're fast enough, there's a lot of room for creativity in our combo theory. Jumping heavy punch into LI is one of my go-to mid-screen LI confirms. You can start buffering the LI beforehand, and then if you feel the heavy punch hit, you can confirm into it, or go for a tick throw if they block the heavy punch. In the corner, this can extend to jumping heavy punch into 2 light kick into 2 medium punch into 2 medium kick into 2 heavy punch into LI for absurd damage. Here's some other significant confirms you'll want to pick up over time. Outside of LI confirms, Lilith has a few acknowledgeable, albeit short combos. 2 medium kick into ES Soul Flash is phenomenal for maintaining your pressure, particularly when paired with her dashing normal. If you can visually confirm that the sweep will hit, then 2 light kick, 2 medium punch into 2 medium kick into 2 heavy kick is a good option to net you an Oki. Also, the importance of basic air chains cannot be overstated, as for mid-screen, you'll either get an air reset on hit, or arguably better, fantastic corner carry. In the corner, you gain the ability to land before your opponent after hitting enough buttons, dependent on your height relative to theirs. This allows you to hit them with an air unblockable close heavy punch or light punch. Lilith can be a surprisingly deep character due to the sheer amount of metagaming LI grants her. I already went over the frame trap she gets with her sweep, but this is a tremendous example of what I mean. Once you get your LIs down pat, you're able to make things that are unsafe more than safe. It's more than just her sweep, mind you. For example, a lot of times players will try to mash out of air chains, so throwing an LI in there will catch a lot of people by surprise. This is also true for taking throws. People will typically try to maintain pressure if you take a throw, so throwing out an LI immediately gets you a lot of cheap hits, especially against the throws that leave the user very minus on tech. LI's mere existence can be a strong defensive option, as it can make people hesitant to put pressure on you. Well, now that that's all said and done, I'll leave you off by addressing the elephant in the room. LI confirms are hard. Outside of matchup woes, LI execution is what makes this character difficult to play effectively. It's one of those things where you'll feel like you're making no progress until you do. It really all comes down to muscle memory. You're not hiking a difficult trail, you're shooting a gun. It's all or nothing. Either the LI gets confirmed or it doesn't. So don't be discouraged by the fact that it doesn't look like you're improving at them, since it's just a hurdle you jump in the moment. Strange as it sounds, you'll go from not being able to execute LI confirms to all of a sudden becoming consistent with them, and that's an incredibly satisfying feeling that becomes a core aspect of the character. Well, that's the show, folks. I hope you enjoyed. I'll leave some links in the description with some resources and some players to check out.